Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to work on the trunk of Project Heart Attack. And my original plan was to kind of dish down the trunk just like we had on Newcomb. And I thought this would go great. I did read the rules and it said quarter panels had to stay in factory location. So I wasn't going to touch the quarter panels of this car. I also read in the rules no peening. So I take that as you're not allowed to crease, which I actually was correct. So I have not creased any of the sheet metal. The only thing I'm allowed to do to the sheet metal is fold the driver door just to make it easier to get in and out. So anyway, I did not do any of that. So I was going to pound this trunk down until I actually got a message from one of my friends who messaged me and said, make sure you reread the rules, you can't pound down your trunk. And I said, oh, I was able to do that for 2017. So I messaged the promoter, I talked to the promoter, and he told me, yes, the rules have changed. You can no longer beat down your trunk lid. And kind of happy I found out about this before I did it, because if I went to that event and I couldn't run because I pushed my trunk lid down 6 inches or so, I would have been a pretty upset camper. Now, we are able to tuck the trunk, and you know what, I might just do that because these seat belts have been on here quite some time, so I might take them off and then re-drill the holes a little bit closer to get them tighter and see if I can maybe try to shove this in there. Not 100% sure, but it is going to be much easier to do the rear threaded rod with these seat belts off. But I'm happy I found out beforehand. I had a buddy that actually didn't find out until afterhand. So now, when I found out, I messaged him. And the first thing he did was send me photos of his creased sides, pounded down trunk. All I did was I said, have fun passing tech, buddy. So I think he is trying to jack out his trunk lid right now to run the show. I bet you it's going to look pretty funny when it gets there. The rules do say that I am allowed to tuck the trunk. I'm like 99% sure that I'm allowed to tuck the trunk, or at least maybe just cut off the back a little bit. But as of right now, I don't think I even want to do that. I think these Toyota Camrys actually come in pretty nice with the factory body lines when it comes to the back of the trunk here. But we're going to add our threaded rod to the back of it. It's actually just much easier to add threaded rod once I have all these off. But this derby actually limits the size of washers I can use to tie down the hood. Most derbies around me limit the size to 4x4 square blocks. And that's great because almost every piece of steel that I have to tie these hoods and trunks closed is 4x4. But unfortunately, this place has changed the rules from 4x4 to 3x3. So that is another stupid thing that I do not want to get caught for. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go buy some new washers that are fair size. But, I don't know, we'll have to do that a little bit later on. I'm going to try to follow the rules as best as I can for this derby because it being the first derby for 2018, I just want to run and smash. I don't even care how I do. We've gotten off all the seat belts now, and what we're going to do is we're going to start drilling out some plates and getting some 3/4 rod. We're going to drop the 3/4 rod through, put a plate going up and a nut, and then another nut and a plate going down. We're going to try to hold the speaker deck in place. I don't really want to crush the speaker deck down because the rules don't allow me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nut and a plate on the bottom and a nut and a plate on the top. And I'm going to tighten it down to try to hold the speaker deck at the height I want it. Because usually when I tighten down these bolts, it actually pulls down the speaker deck and trunk. But I do not want to do this with this car because I can't. So, let's get going. I'm going to go drill out some plates and then we'll start installing the threaded rod and the plates and the nuts and all that fun stuff. Boom, let's get going. bolt there, we're going to take our plates, we're going to slide the first one up, and then we're going to take our nut and put it up pretty damn high. Now with this nut ran up to a height that we desire, we can install our next nut on the bottom. Now, there's nothing really super special about these nuts. All they are is a 3/4 inch thread nut. These are structural nuts, so instead of being 1 1/8 inches, which is your normal size for a 3/4 nut, these are actually 1 1/4 inches. It makes them a little bit bigger, so that way I can put bigger holes in the washer, so that they come off a little bit easier after the demolition derby. But other than that, there's no real big differences in that. So now that we got this up high enough to go through the frame, we're going to install another plate, just like this. Stand up our threaded rod. Bring it right down through. Now this is still a 20-foot length because I don't like to cut them until everything's already in there. So just like that now, this is through there. Now we can install another plate and a washer on the bottom side. With the washer and plate installed on the bottom, we can now pull up and tighten this down. And we're actually going to get a wrench and put a lot of pressure onto that. So we have here an 1 1/4 inch wrench, and what we're going to do is we're just going to start tightening this down to put pressure onto that bottom frame rail. And it's actually pulling this threaded rod up and out so that we use as least amount of cutoffs as possible. With this tightened up, what we can do is we can now run this one all the way up. I didn't want to run it too far up before because I had to have enough thread to go through that hole. There you go, just tighten that upwards a bit, not a lot. The next step is to cut off the access threaded rod, which is almost, I'm going to say probably 7 feet. So we're going to cut this off nice and tight and then put our top plate on it. Cut the length, install our plate, grab a nut. Nope, my arm can't fit through that hole. There you go, got that one. Put her on. Now all we're going to do is just tighten her down until she won't move no more. This way here, the trunk lid stays at the factory height. The speaker deck stays at the factory height, but we are adding the extra strength of the threaded rod to the back end. I'm trying to play as well within the rules as I can. I don't want to get in trouble for breaking the rules, and I don't really want to push the gray area too far at this demolition derby. So now with the top on there, we can really start to tighten up this one because this will stop the speaker deck from coming down now. And then tighten this one just to make sure. Like that, I'm getting a little bit more out of her. Now that everything's getting tight. So there you go. We now have the passenger side done, and all we have left to do now is the driver's side. So I guess let's get going on this driver's side until we have both sides pretty much the identical. I think this is going to work out nicely. Still shuts the trunk good. It didn't pull down anything. Let's get the other side done, and then we'll give a review on how this thing looks. Well, there we go. We have both the threaded rods in. They're in there good. We're basically ready to start putting the the trunk back together on this. Now before I was kind of just looping my seatbelts through here, and I was quite happy with that, but now I think I'm going to change it up a bit. I think I'm going to move my seatbelts a little bit closer to the outside of the actual trunk lid in an effort to try to keep them on there a little bit better. So let me just drill our holes to rerun our seatbelts. I'm just only going to drill 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. Let's get going. So how I look at it now, this trunk is done. We have our threaded rod in here. Where I like to put them, I have them. I have seat belts. I'm allowed to have the trunk tied closed in 4 places. So I have the seat belt that goes through here, tying the trunk shut. This one here, and then this one here. That is the 6, 3 per side, I'm using to tie the trunk shut. And then I'm allowed 2 from the, I guess, the body to the bumper, just to try to hold it all together. So I have that right here. 1, 2. So as I look at it right now, I've pushed these back, the rules on the back of this car about as far as I can go with them. You guys know me. I like to dish the trunk just a bit. Nothing like spectacular. Like honestly guys, I just love something just simple, quick, just something that keeps the trunk out of my eyesight while I'm backing up. But unfortunately, because of the rules of this demolition derby, I am not allowed to do that. So this is what this trunk looks like, and as of right now, this car is pretty much done. We have the gas tank in, we have the trunk done, we have the gas tank in, we have the gas tank protector, which is a very simple protector as the rules require. We have our fire extinguisher, we have our toggle switches, we have a dead battery. We got to fix that up. We have our shifter because other than hood header, shifter is one of the only parts they allow to be aftermarket. We have our aggressive tires. We have our bumper swap. Now I could have gone with a better bumper, but this thing was already on there. It was built to run somewhere else, so we did that. We have our threaded rod up in the front. We have our sign on the roof. We have our door bar. We have our gas tank emergency stop button. As of right now, that's the wrong piece of paper. There it is on the ground. We have pretty much everything done to this car. So let's go through our list. Trunk. Alright, most of these are scratched off that I can't read, but trunk 3/4 done. Trunk dish, I can't. Spare tire pushed up. I haven't done that yet, actually. Pre-bend the rear's done. Trunk lid, seat belt, that's done. Rad padding, actually I haven't done that. Change the battery, haven't done that. And the GoPro, I guess I haven't done that. But you know what? As of right now, this car is done. So, yeah. Alright, that's garbage. But the car's done, and I'm pretty happy with this thing. Believe it or not, this car was built 2 years ago now. And I'm just excited to get this thing smashed. I am tired of looking at it. I'm tired of it sitting in my backyard with a tarp over it. 2 years is too long to have a car sitting in your backyard. So, happy to get this thing out of the workshop and smashed in the demolition derby. It's going to be going into the ring in about 1 week. So stay tuned, guys, if you want to see this car get smashed up.